The mirror reflected back a woman who had spent 2 hours perfecting every detail. My burgundy silk dress hugged my curves just right. The diamond earrings Marcus had given me for my birthday caught the light perfectly, and my makeup was flawless. Tonight was our 2-year anniversary, and I had planned everything down to the last detail. "You look stunning, Bella," I whispered to my reflection, smoothing down the dress one final time. The reservation at Lumiere was for 8 o'clock, Marcus's favorite restaurant, impossible to get into without connections I'd worked months to secure. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Babe, something came up. Vivian's having a crisis, and she needs me. Brain check. I'll make it up to you, promise." I stared at the screen, reading the message 3 times before it sank in. Vivian. His ex-girlfriend. The woman who had been having crises with suspicious frequency lately. My hands trembled as I typed back. "It's our anniversary, Marcus. We planned this weeks ago." The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally. "I know, and I'm sorry.
But she's really struggling right now. You understand, right?"
You're amazing like that. Amazing.
Right.
Amazing enough to be stood up on our anniversary so he could play knight in shining armor to his ex. I could have screamed. I could have thrown my phone against the wall. Instead, I grabbed my purse, locked my apartment, and drove to Lumiere anyway. "Miss Chun, your table is ready," the maitre d' said with his practiced smile. "Will Mr. Kane be joining you shortly?" "He's been delayed," I said, following him to our table, a corner booth with candles and rose petals scattered across white linen. The works. I ordered a bottle of their finest champagne and sat there, checking my phone every few minutes. Other couples laughed and whispered sweet nothings while I sat alone, the empty chair across from me broadcasting my humiliation to the entire restaurant. "Is everything all right, miss?" our waiter asked for the 3rd time, his eyes filled with pity. "Perfect," I lied, taking another sip of champagne that tasted like disappointment. That's when I made the mistake of checking Instagram. There was Marcus, posted 20 minutes ago. His arm wrapped around a sobbing Vivian at some dimly lit wine bar downtown. The caption read, "Sometimes being there for people who matter is all that counts. #loyalty, #friendship. Friendship."
I nearly choked on my champagne.
The comments were already rolling in. "Such a good friend. Lucky girl to have someone like you. You're so caring, Marcus." I screenshot everything, my marketing executive brain already cataloging evidence. Because if there's one thing my career had taught me, it's that information is power. "Ma'am?" The waiter was back, hovering nervously. "Perhaps I could box up some dessert for you to take home?" I looked around the restaurant. Every table was full of happy couples celebrating their love, while I sat here like a fool, still waiting for a man who had chosen his ex over me. Again. "Actually," I said, standing and smoothing my dress, "I'll take the champagne to go." At home, I kicked off my heels and sat cross-legged on my couch with my laptop, the champagne bottle within arm's reach. Sarah, my best friend and business partner, picked up on the first ring. "How was dinner? Did he love the watch you got him?" "He didn't show," I said, taking a drink straight from the bottle. "What?" Sarah's voice went up an octave. "Isabella, please tell me you're joking." "Vivian had a crisis," I said, air quoting even though she couldn't see me. "Apparently, that trumps our 2-year anniversary." That manipulative little, Sarah caught herself. "Where are you?" "I'm coming over." "I'm fine. Actually, I'm better than fine. I'm enlightened." "Oh no. You're using your scary marketing voice. What are you planning?" I clicked through Vivian's social media profiles, studying every photo, every caption, every tagged location. "Did you know Vivian Torres is married?" Silence on the other end. Then, "Come again?" "Married. To one Daniel Torres, successful architect and philanthropist." I scrolled through his profile. Handsome in a sophisticated way, charity galas, beautiful homes he designed. And he seems to have no idea his wife is out having crises with her ex-boyfriend. "Bella, whatever you're thinking." I'm thinking Marcus made his choice. And now it's time I made mine. I bookmarked several pages, my mind already working. "Sarah, Remember when you said I should fight fire with fire? I meant confront him directly, not. Sometimes the direct approach isn't the most effective. I found Daniel's business website, complete with contact information and a calendar of public appearances. There's a charity gala tomorrow night. The Torres Foundation is hosting. Guess who just decided to make a donation? Isabella Chen. You are playing with fire. Good, I said, closing my laptop with satisfaction. I've been playing it safe for 2 years, and look where it got me. Time to try something new. After Sarah hung up, still protesting my plan, I poured myself a proper glass of champagne and toasted my reflection in the dark window. Here's to new beginnings, I said aloud. And to getting exactly what I deserve. My phone buzzed. Marcus again. Babe, I'm so sorry about tonight. Vivian's better now. Can we do dinner tomorrow instead? I turned off my phone without responding. Tomorrow, I had a gala to attend. The Torres Foundation Charity Gala was exactly the kind of event I'd attended dozens of times for work. Crystal chandeliers, women in designer gowns, men in perfectly tailored tuxedos discussing mergers over 30-year-old scotch. I fit right in. I'd chosen a midnight blue gown that struck the perfect balance between elegant and memorable, and I'd done my research. Daniel Torres was 34, graduated summa cum laude from Columbia, built his architectural firm from nothing, and donated millions to children's charities annually. On paper, he was everything Marcus pretended to be. The silent auction items are spectacular this year, a woman next to me commented as we perused the display tables. Absolutely, I agreed, pretending to study a weekend getaway package while actually scanning the room for my target. That's when I spotted him. Daniel Torres stood near the bar, laughing at something an older gentleman was saying. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair touched with premature silver at the temples and laugh lines that suggested he smiled often. Nothing like the cold businessman I'd expected. I waited until he was alone before making my approach. Excuse me, I said, moving to the bar beside him. Aren't you Daniel Torres? I've admired your work on the Children's Hospital downtown. He turned, and I was struck by genuinely warm brown eyes. Thank you, that's very kind. I don't believe we've met. Isabella Chen, Chun and Associates Marketing. I extended my hand, and his handshake was firm but gentle. I was hoping to discuss a potential partnership between my firm and the Torres Foundation. Business at a charity gala? He smiled, and I understood why Vivian was fighting to keep him. How refreshingly honest. Most people here pretend they're not networking. We talked for 20 minutes about everything except business, art, travel, his foundation's work with underprivileged children. He was intelligent, funny, and completely present in our conversation. When was the last time Marcus had given me his undivided attention for 20 minutes? I should find my wife, Daniel said eventually, scanning the crowd. She was feeling under the weather earlier, but she insisted on coming. Oh, is she here? I asked innocently. She stepped out to take a call. Some kind of crisis with a friend. His brow furrowed slightly. She's been having a lot of those lately. My pulse quickened. That must be difficult. It is. Vivian has always been the type to drop everything for people she cares about, but lately... He trailed off, then shook his head. I'm sorry, you don't need to hear about my domestic concerns. Sometimes it helps to talk to a stranger, I said gently. And I'm a good listener. He studied my face for a moment. She's been distant, distracted, always rushing off to help someone, but she won't tell me who or with what. I've tried to be supportive, but you're starting to wonder if there's something she's not telling you? Exactly. He looked relieved that someone understood. Is that terrible? To doubt your own wife. It's human, I said. Trust your instincts, Daniel. They're usually right. Before he could respond, a flash of red caught my attention. Vivian Torres was walking back into the ballroom, her phone pressed to her ear, looking flustered. She was petite and beautiful in an obvious way, bleached blonde hair, spray tan, the kind of curves that came from expensive procedures rather than genetics. There she is, Daniel said, but I noticed he didn't sound particularly happy about it. Vivian spotted us from across the room, and her expression shifted from annoyed to alarmed. She ended her call abruptly and hurried over. Danny, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. She wrapped herself around his arm possessively, her eyes never leaving my face. Who's your new friend? Vivian, this is Isabella Chen. Isabella, my wife Vivian. Lovely to meet you, I said, extending my hand with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Vivian's handshake was limp and brief. Likewise. Danny, we should go. I'm still not feeling well. Of course. Daniel turned to me apologetically. It was wonderful meeting you, Isabella. I hope we can continue our conversation about that partnership soon. I handed him my business card. I'd like that very much. As they walked away, I saw Vivian pull Daniel aside, speaking urgently in his ear, while gesturing in my direction. Whatever she was saying, it was making Daniel frown. My phone buzzed.
Sarah.
How's Operation Homewrecker going? I typed back. It's not homewrecking if the home is already broken. And I think it might be more broken than I realized. Meaning, I need you to do some digging. Everything you can find on Vivian Torres, maiden name unknown. And I need a private investigator. A good one. Bella, are you sure about this? I watched Daniel help Vivian with her coat, his movements gentle but distant. She was still talking rapidly, her hands gesturing dramatically. Whatever crisis had pulled her away from the gala, and from her husband, I was willing to bet it had everything to do with Marcus. I'm sure. Marcus made his choice. Now I'm making mine. And unlike him, I'm going to be smart about it. The next morning, I sat in my office reviewing the private investigator's preliminary report while sipping my third cup of coffee. Sarah knocked and entered without waiting for permission. Please tell me you've come to your senses, she said, settling into the chair across from my desk. Quite the opposite. I turned my laptop screen toward her. Look at this. The photos were damning. Marcus and Vivian at 3 different restaurants over the past month. Marcus and Vivian leaving a hotel together last Tuesday, the same day he'd canceled our dinner plans because of work. Marcus and Vivian in his car outside her house while Daniel was at his office. How long has this been going on? Sarah asked quietly. At least 2 months, maybe longer. I closed the laptop. And Sarah? Yesterday wasn't the first time she's used the crisis with a friend excuse to leave Daniel and meet Marcus. That poor man. Exactly. So now the question is, what am I going to do about it? You're going to tell him the truth. Eventually. But first, I'm going to make sure Marcus and Vivian get exactly what they deserve. Sarah leaned back in her chair. And what does Daniel get? I thought about his warm eyes, his genuine concern for others, the way he'd listen to me like I was the only person in the room. Daniel gets the truth. And maybe, if he wants it, a chance at something real.
My phone rang.
Marcus. Are you going to answer that? Sarah asked. I looked at the screen, then at the photos of Marcus with Vivian, then at Daniel's business card sitting on my desk. No, I said, declining the call. I have more important things to do. 3 weeks later, Daniel and I had settled into an easy friendship that was becoming something more with each coffee date, each charity event we accidentally attended together, each late-night conversation that started about business and ended about everything else. I've never met anyone who actually reads architecture magazines for fun, Daniel said, laughing as we walked through the sculpture garden after another foundation event. I've never met anyone who can make urban planning sound romantic, I countered, adjusting my wrap against the evening breeze. Is that what I'm doing? Making it sound romantic. The question hung between us, loaded with possibility. We'd been dancing around this attraction for weeks, both of us too honorable to acknowledge it directly while he was still married. But the pull was undeniable. Daniel. I began. I know. He stopped walking and turned to face me. This is complicated. More complicated than you realize. He searched my face. What does that mean? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed.
Marcus, again.
He'd been calling and texting constantly since I'd started ignoring him, growing increasingly desperate and angry. Someone's persistent, Daniel observed. My ex-boyfriend. He doesn't handle rejection well.
Ah.
Daniel's jaw tightened slightly. The one who stood you up on your anniversary? I'd told him about Marcus during one of our conversations, though I'd carefully omitted certain details about who Marcus was seeing instead. That's the one. His loss is definitely my gain. The words were light, flirtatious, but there was something deeper in his eyes. Something that made my heart race and my conscience war with my growing feelings. Daniel's phone rang, interrupting the moment. Vivian's name flashed on the screen. I should take this, he said apologetically. Of course. I watched his expression shift as he listened to whatever story Vivian was spinning this time. According to my private investigator's latest report, she'd met Marcus for lunch yesterday while Daniel was at a client meeting. Another crisis? Daniel said into the phone, his tone carefully neutral. What kind of crisis, exactly? I couldn't hear Vivian's response, but I could see Daniel's growing frustration. And this friend can't handle this situation themselves because?
A pause. I see.
And you'll be home when? More silence. Daniel ran his hand through his hair. No, Vivian. I'm not being unreasonable. I'm asking my wife to spend one evening at home with me instead of rushing off to solve everyone else's problems. The conversation continued for several more minutes, with Daniel's responses becoming shorter and more clipped. Finally, he hung up. Let me guess, I said gently. She has to go help someone. A friend's relationship crisis, apparently. Very urgent. His laugh was bitter. It's always urgent these days. Daniel, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you know who this friend is? The one having all these crises. He was quiet for a long moment. She won't tell me. Says it's confidential, that her friend doesn't want anyone else to know their business. He met my eyes. But between you and me, I'm starting to think there is no friend. My heart pounded. What do you mean? I think she's having an affair, Isabella. I think my wife is cheating on me, and I think I've been a fool for not seeing it sooner. The pain in his voice nearly broke my resolve. This man deserved so much better than what both Vivian and I were putting him through, even if his wife was the one doing the actual cheating. What are you going to do? I don't know. Confront her, I suppose. Demand the truth. He looked at me with such trust, such vulnerability. What would you do? The honest answer was that I'd hire a private investigator and gather evidence, then use that evidence to destroy my cheating spouse's life systematically and completely. But I couldn't tell Daniel that. I'd want proof, I said carefully. Before I accuse someone I loved of betraying me, I'd want to be absolutely certain. You're right. Accusations without evidence would just give her a chance to cover her tracks better. Exactly. We walked in comfortable silence for a few minutes, each lost in our own thoughts. Finally, Daniel spoke again. Isabella, can I tell you something? Of course. These past few weeks, getting to know you, it's reminded me what it feels like to connect with someone. Really connect. He stopped walking and faced me. I'd forgotten that was possible. Daniel, I know the timing is terrible. I know I'm married, and I know that makes this impossible. But I need you to know that whatever happens with Vivian, these feelings I have for you, they're real. I stared at him, this good, honest man who had no idea that the woman he was falling for was the ex-girlfriend of his wife's lover. The irony was almost too much to bear. They're real for me too, I whispered. He stepped closer, and for a moment I thought he might kiss me. Instead, he cupped my face gently with one hand. When this is over, when I figure out what's happening with my marriage, I want to explore this. Whatever this is between us. I want that too. And I did. More than I'd wanted anything in a long time. Which made what I was about to do even more necessary. That night, I called my private investigator. I need you to arrange for Daniel Torres to catch his wife in the act, I said without preamble. That's not usually how we make it happen. This weekend. I want him to see exactly who she's been having these crises with. And if he gets hurt in the process? I thought about Daniel's warm eyes, his genuine kindness, the way he made me feel like I was worth his full attention. He's already hurt. At least this way, he'll know the truth. After I hung up, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my balcony, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Marcus was probably with Vivian, congratulating themselves on how cleverly they were deceiving their respective partners. And somewhere else, Daniel was sitting alone in his house, wondering why his wife had abandoned him for another crisis. By Sunday night, they would all know exactly where they stood, including me. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Last chance to back out of whatever you're planning." I typed back. "Too late. The wheels are already in motion. Just promise me you know what you're doing." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. I know exactly what I'm doing. That's what scares me. Sunday evening, I sat in my car across from the Grandview Hotel, my hands gripping the steering wheel as I watched the entrance. According to my private investigator, Marcus and Vivian were in room 1247, and Daniel would be arriving any moment to surprise his wife with flowers and an apology for their fight the night before, a fight I'd helped orchestrate by suggesting he demand some honest answers.
My phone rang.
"Are you sure you want to go through with this?" Sarah asked. "It's too late now," I said, watching a familiar figure walk up to the hotel entrance. "Daniel just arrived. Bella, once you do this, there's no going back."
Good.
I don't want to go back. I ended the call and followed Daniel into the hotel, staying far enough behind to avoid being seen. The elevator ride to the 12th floor felt like the longest 3 minutes of my life. Daniel stood outside room 1247, holding a bouquet of white roses, Vivian's favorites, according to her social media posts. He looked nervous, hopeful, like a man trying to save his marriage. My heart clenched, but I didn't stop him when he used his key card to open the door. The sound that came from inside the room, Daniel's sharp intake of breath, followed by Vivian's scream and Marcus's cursing, told me everything I needed to know. "What the hell is going on here?" Daniel's voice carried through the partially open door. "Danny, I can explain." Vivian's voice was high and panicked. Can you explain why you're in bed with another man when you're supposed to be helping a friend with a crisis?" "Daniel, man, look," Marcus began. "Don't." Daniel's voice was steel. "Don't say another word." I pressed myself against the wall as the door opened wider and Marcus stumbled out, half-dressed and clutching his clothes. He looked panicked, disheveled, nothing like the smooth businessman who'd broken my heart 3 weeks ago. That's when he saw me. "Isabella." His face went white. "What are you doing here?" "Hello, Marcus." I smiled sweetly. "Crisis resolved, I hope." How did you?" Understanding dawned in his eyes. "You set this up." "I have no idea what you mean." Daniel appeared in the doorway, his shirt wrinkled, his face a mask of controlled fury. When he saw me, confusion flickered across his features. "Isabella? What are you doing here?" "Daniel, I'm so sorry you had to find out this way." "Find out what? Do you know him?" He gestured at Marcus, who was still staring at me in shock. "Marcus Kane," I said calmly. "My ex-boyfriend. The one who stood me up on our anniversary to comfort your wife during her crisis." The silence that followed was deafening. Daniel looked between Marcus and me, the pieces clicking into place. "Your ex-boyfriend," he repeated slowly. "The one I told you about. The one who chose someone else over me." I met his eyes steadily. "I just didn't mention that someone else was your wife." Vivian appeared in the doorway wearing Daniel's shirt, her hair disheveled, makeup smeared. "Danny, please let me explain." "Explain what, exactly?" Daniel's voice was deadly quiet. "Explain how you've been lying to me for months? Explain how you've been using fake crises to sneak around with your ex-boyfriend? Or explain how you've made me feel like I was going crazy for suspecting something was wrong." "It's not what it looks like." "Really?" "Because it looks like my wife is having an affair with her ex-boyfriend in a hotel room, using charity events and fake emergencies as cover stories." Marcus finally found his voice. "Isabella, you manipulative." "Careful," I interrupted. "You're not really in a position to call anyone names right now." "This is insane," Vivian said, wrapping Daniel's shirt tighter around herself. "Danny, she's clearly unstable. She planned this whole thing to break us up because she's jealous." "Jealous?" I laughed. "Vivian, I've spent the last 3 weeks getting to know your husband. And you know what I discovered?" He's everything Marcus pretended to be, but never was. Loyal, honest, genuinely caring about others. So no, I'm not jealous. I'm grateful. Daniel stared at me. You've been using me. The accusation hit harder than I'd expected. At first, maybe. But Daniel. Get away from me. His voice was flat, empty. All of you. I can't. I need to think. He walked away, leaving the three of us standing in the hallway. Marcus grabbed my arm. You think you're so smart, don't you? But you just destroyed any chance you had with him. He'll never trust you now. I pulled free of his grip. Maybe not. But at least he knows the truth now. That's more than either of you gave him. Vivian was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Marcus, do something. Fix this. Fix what, Vivian? Your marriage? My relationship? We're both screwed, thanks to your brilliant idea to keep both men on the hook. My idea? You're the one who said you couldn't choose between us. Because you told me you were going to leave Daniel. You said you just needed time. I watched them turn on each other with grim satisfaction. Well, this has been enlightening, but I have somewhere to be. I found Daniel in the hotel bar, staring at an untouched whiskey. Can I sit? I asked. He gestured to the empty chair, without looking at me. I know you hate me right now, I began. I don't hate you. I hate that I don't know what was real and what was manipulation. My feelings for you are real. He finally looked at me. How can I believe that? How can I believe anything you say? Because I'm telling you the truth now. All of it. I took a deep breath. I did seek you out initially for revenge. I was humiliated and angry, and I wanted to hurt Marcus the way he'd hurt me. But Daniel, what happened between us, the connection we found, the way you made me feel, none of that was part of any plan. But you could have told me the truth weeks ago. You could have just shown me the evidence and walked away. I could have, but I was selfish. I was falling for you, and I didn't want to lose you. He was quiet for a long moment. My marriage is over. I'm sorry. Are you? Or is this exactly what you wanted? It's what you needed. Daniel, she was never going to stop. She was using you both, playing you against each other. You deserve to know. And what about what you deserve, Isabella? What do you get out of all this? I looked at this man who'd shown me what real partnership could look like, who'd listened to me and valued my opinions and made me feel genuinely cherished. Who might never trust me again because of the choices I'd made. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe nothing. Maybe I've lost the best thing that ever happened to me because I was too focused on revenge to trust in something real. Daniel finished his whiskey in one swallow. I need time to process all of this. To figure out who I am when I'm not being lied to. I understand. He stood to leave, then paused. Isabella? Yes. When you're ready to stop playing games and just be honest, completely honest about everything, call me. Maybe we can figure out if there's something real here worth saving. He left me sitting alone in the hotel bar, much like I'd sat alone at Lumiere 3 weeks ago. But this time, I wasn't humiliated or angry. I was hopeful. Because Daniel Torres was a man worth waiting for, worth being better for. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to stop playing games and just be real. 6 months later, I was back at Lumiere, but this time I wasn't alone. Daniel sat across from me, his hand covering mine on the white tablecloth, his eyes warm with genuine affection. Happy 6-month anniversary, he said, raising his wine glass. To new beginnings, I replied, clinking my glass against his. And to honesty. Always. Marcus had tried to win me back, of course, with flowers and promises and claims that he'd been confused by Vivian's manipulation. I'd blocked his number after the 3rd voicemail. Vivian had fought the divorce tooth and nail, trying to claim half of Daniel's assets, but the prenup and the evidence of her affair had left her with very little. She'd moved back to her hometown, her social media presence conspicuously quiet. Any regrets? Daniel asked as if reading my thoughts. I looked at this man who'd taught me the difference between love and obsession, between manipulation and partnership. Who'd forgiven my deception because he understood that sometimes people make mistakes when they're hurting. who'd waited for me to become the woman worthy of his trust. Only one, I said. Oh, I wish I'd gotten your number sooner. He laughed, and the sound filled all the empty spaces Marcus had left behind. Well, you have it now. Forever, I hope. Forever, he agreed, and when he kissed me across the candlelit table, I knew that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well and loving better.